Hi everyone. Today we're going to continue with our little series on Goslings, the Bermuda-based blender and bottler that is actually part of the British Commonwealth, or it's an overseas territory of Britain to this day. So it's actually not a Caribbean island in the accepted sense of the term, where it's an independent nation. Goslings has been around since 1806. They've been blending and bottling since 1860. They started to make their first popular rum in about 1863. In 1948, they created the Black Seal brand with an actual seal drawing on it. And that's because of, but they called it the Black Seal because of all this sealing wax that they used to do on the traditional champagne bottles. Now, they do have, for the longest while, they just had the Goslings old rum that they used to bottle, and that's all you got. And actually, one of the first reviews I ever did was that rum. And it was okay for its time and so on. But in the years that have passed, they have started to add extras to it. So, for example, there's the single barrel Papa Seal, at 41.5%, I think. And then there's the 151, of course, which we looked at just a few days ago. And as well, there is the Family Reserve bottling at 40%. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about family reserves. In the old days when they were sugar plantations and they used to distill their own shit before they all got consolidated into major rum-making houses, the families and the plantocracy and the powers that be used to always have a few barrels squirreled away for their own private amusement and to share with the lesser mortals, such as, well, you and me, right? And these were called family casks, family reserve, special reserve, chairman's reserve, private stocks. You can take your pick. Anytime you see something like that these days, though, it's a pretty good bet that it's all a commercial marketing tool and it doesn't actually mean what you think it means. However, the quality supposedly remains. Now, I've had an issue with Goslings in particular since I started doing my research on their rums, and all I can say is that it's terrible. The disclosure on what it is that their rums are made of is absolutely abominable, and I can't say that enough times, right? And I think in this day and age, we shouldn't have to ask this much. Is it really too much to ask for them to tell us where does the stock come from, which countries produced it, what kind of still does it come off of? How long has it been aged, in what kind of barrels, where does the aging take place? I mean, for fuck's sake, is that really asking for too much? I'm not asking for proprietary company secrets and recipes here, right? So what we've got here is a rum that is supposedly up to 16 years old. I think from what I understand, it is a blend of rums from 16 to 19 years of age, and that's it. That's all they got. And it's supposedly a pot column still distillate, that has then been aged in very heavily charred barrels. We can kind of take that with a pinch of salt. There is another version of this, but we'll get to that later. The part that I've got, two things I want to make an observation about. This is the traditional champagne bottle. The Family Reserve is the only one that still remains having that champagne bottle. Everything else is in a standard barroom type bottle like the 151 we looked at the other day. There are two versions of the Family Reserve. One is the standard. There's nothing fancy about it. It's the 16 to 19 years of aging, then blended, and then issued at 40%. But there is another one that has an additional 3 years worth of aging in rye casks. Now, if you see the red label, then you know it's the original. If you see a green label, then you know that it's the rye cask. All right. My other issue with this thing is if it is supposedly something very special, should it really be 40%? I mean, really? Seriously? 40%? I don't think so. Again, look at the color. It's very dark. Whether that is because of 16 years maturation in charred barrels, okay, I'll take that on faith at the moment. But let's just run it through its paces. I almost would say that this is a slightly more aged version of the 151. Sorry, but it's too weak. It really doesn't have that much to recommend it in terms of its flavor profile. But if you let it stand for a while, and I've had this before, so I've got my tasting notes straight in my head, you will get something very similar to what the 151 was. So, for example, you will get cinnamon and some cumin. There's the wet coffee grounds, caramel, toffee, milk chocolate, a bit of dark cherries, and rotting oranges. Just that kind of slight murkiness to it, as if something has been going off. And on top of that, you probably get a little bit of bonbons and, of course, vanilla, but nothing really excessive. It's actually quite dry. even to smell. There's a bit of anise hiding in the background there, but not enough to derail the experience in any way. At 40%, you can sip this all night long. It's not going to be a problem. And therein is both its strength and its weakness. A strength because it'll appeal to everybody. A weakness because people who know their rums and want something with a little bit more forward taste are going to say this thing is just milquetoast, right? Which it is. But you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and you have to give it credit for what it does. Just because I don't like the lack of disclosure doesn't mean that it is in and of itself a bad thing. The fact of the matter is, you are getting coffee, chocolate, walnuts, crushed walnuts, a bit of almonds, cumin, cinnamon, same very kind of moldy citrus notes as from fruits that have gone off for too long, even a bit of bananas if you really want to think about that. Did I mention the anise? Maybe. There's no finish to speak of here, as far as I'm concerned. And beyond that, perhaps a little bit of ashes, maybe. It's actually not a bad rum. But the weakness undoes it. And the truth of the matter is, haven't we had this before many, many times? You know, this is a rum essentially from yesteryear that has been brought into the modern world. It hasn't changed appreciably from what I remember from the original Black Seal, right? The tastes are great. It's not too bad. But the thing is, it's too weak and it's not too full enough. And we've had it 10 times before. It seems to be thrown together with far too much indifference. And if you think that I'm joking about that, only somebody who really doesn't give a shit about the product that they're making refuse to tell you anything about it, because then, of course, the game is up and they'd have to explain what it is that they're doing, which is essentially just making a commercial product. And more to the point, if you want to meditate on the difference between this and craftsmanship, just pick up any sort of Foursquare ECS, which is also pot column still, which is also aged smooth. You know, one of the red label ones that is about 4 to 43%, right? To kind of like give you and then you'll see the difference between something that is made with love and care and craftsmanship versus something that's just thrown out the door to make sales. I'm going to score this at 8 points. The weakness undoes it. That takes off a few points. The tastes are not anything particularly original or particularly new. They don't come together in any way that makes it particularly interesting for me personally. If you like this kind of thing, by all means drink it. It's an easy sip. You're not going to have a problem with that. Just add a few points to my score and you'll be good to go. And we'll talk about the green labeled rye cask in a few minutes, but that's pretty much it for today. So I hope you have a good afternoon or a good morning or a good evening or wherever you are. And happy drinking. Don't drink and drive. Take care. Bye-bye.